meteorologist Chris Boone.
Plenty of moisture for much of the state of Texas, and you don't want to watch that dry line. Basically, at transition, you can see the dew points into the upper 50s for us here in San Angelo. A little further towards the northwest, you drop down to 26. So that's where we see the leading edge of those storms likely to develop. In fact, you're already starting to see it in towards the northern parts, up towards Wichita Falls and in towards Oklahoma. So again, take a look at that, basically that green line between the yellow and the green. That's where you start to see those thunderstorms developing. And you keep taking it back further south. That's where we're expecting to see our thunderstorms develop as we go into the evening and overnight hours. So again, that instability works its way into that moisture, and that's where we'll start to see some of those thunderstorms develop. So far, everything's been well off towards the north. Starting to see a few of those storms pop up along the Red River Valley, but otherwise still well off towards the north of us here in the Concho Valley. We've basically just been seeing that cloud coverage did break up into the afternoon hours. That allowed for those temperatures to kind of jump up just a bit. Still seeing some of those high clouds move in from the southwest. Again, we'll really be watching for the overnight hours that we see the best chance of those thunderstorms. Temperatures into the mid-80s for most of the Concho Valley. A little pocket of those 70s, again, where they've been hanging on to that cloud coverage into the southeast. 77 in Brady as well as Menard, also at 77 degrees. So some of the cooler spots in the Concho Valley. Winds a little bit calmer, but it's still out of the south. Still seeing some gusts in towards the southern parts of Concho Valley, out towards Ozona, a gust of 30 miles per hour. The bigger story is kind of going to be the thunderstorms as we continue into the overnight hours. 85 degrees right now in downtown San Angelo as we look off towards the north. Winds out of the south at 10 miles per hour, but the dew points, plenty of moisture for the atmosphere to work with as we continue into the evening and overnight hours. The severe weather outlook basically extending from where we're already seeing those thunderstorms further towards the south. That's where we get into the southern tail end of that. But you see how the entire Concho Valley is basically in that slight category. That is a 2 out of 5 for the chance for severe weather. And the biggest concern we're going to be watching is the hail threat, as well as the possibility of some strong gusty winds as those storms move across the area through the overnight hours. As we kind of time that out, we'll see kind of a little bit of a bubbling up of some possible storms, but closer towards midnight, that's when everything really starts to begin to develop. We'll see that basically that tail end of that system really start to fire up those thunderstorms and could be working its way through the San Angelo area by about 1 a.m. in towards the eastern parts of the Concho Valley, kind of into the early morning hours. So don't be surprised if you hear 1 or 2 rumbles of thunder, and with that you could see some hail with these storms. So take the extra moment to put that car in the garage, under the carport, just in case we actually end up getting some hail from these storms. As we get into the later parts of the morning hours into the afternoon, those storms push well off towards the east, and we'll be looking at fairly quiet conditions for the rest of your Friday as far as the storms are concerned. But we're going to kind of turn gears into a little bit something else. We're going to actually be talking about the dust storm. So remember, we do have the possibility for some severe weather. You can always download our app, ConchoValleyHomepage.com. That way you have those watches and warnings right there in your pocket, and that way you're always informed, even if you are on the go. Tonight, you'll see a 70% chance of those showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures dropping down into the mid-50s. Tomorrow, we'll see the temperatures a little bit cooler, but dusty as those winds pick up out of the west after that system pushes through. So those winds out of the west gusting up to 45 miles per hour. So some very strong winds, and with that, coming in from the west could pick up some of that dust. Again, it is going to be dry behind that system as well, so that'll really push out those dew points. We'll see it drop as well, and that's going to result in the fire weather watch going into effect tomorrow at 1 p.m. That's when we'll start to see those winds really picking up, in addition to the drier conditions. So gusty winds and then dry conditions behind this system. So we're going to see a little bit of everything over the next couple of days. The fire weather watch will be continuing into the evening, Friday evening. Winds for the most part out of the south still into this evening as we go in towards Friday. By the afternoon hours, that's when you really see those very strong winds out of the west and northwest. Could see gusts up to 45 miles per hour across the entire Concho Valley. Could be even a little bit stronger in towards the northwestern parts. Those winds getting closer towards 50 miles per hour. And then we'll start to see those winds begin to calm down. Basically, as we get into the evening hours Friday, going in towards Saturday morning, those winds start to settle down a bit more. And we're going to look at those conditions to calm down for us onto the weekend. And again, be extra careful if you do see any of that dust end up picking up, and especially doing any driving, because you see the strong winds makes driving already difficult, but when you have the decreased visibility, that can make driving even more hazardous. So again, just take a little bit of extra time, turn on those headlights, and make sure you're as seen as you're doing any driving for tomorrow. And as we see that system push through, that's going to kick off towards the east, and then we'll be looking at fairly quiet conditions going in towards the weekend. We'll see those temperatures kind of ease back down into the 70s. Not a whole lot of activity. See more of a zonal flow, though we will start to look off towards the west for our next system. Not expecting that to really be a bother, at least not until the end of next week. So we do have the thunderstorm threat as we go into the overnight hours tomorrow, or tonight rather. Going into tomorrow, that's when we start to see those hazy conditions and some blowing dust. Things will settle out pretty nicely for the weekend. Temperatures into the 70s. A little bit of a cool down for us on Tuesday, but winds pick right back up by next Wednesday.